So I'm a double legacy. So my grandmother was an education major here at UNT, and then my mom also was an education major here at UNT. And I was like, hey, worked out for them, watched them be teachers my whole life, and I was like, that looks like so much fun. Went to UNT, got into the education major, and then I found out it wasn't for me. When you enter the education world, there is a lot of like, you are shaping the young minds of the world. Like you are shaping the next generation, so you have to be careful of what you say. You have to walk in with, they made it a point to bring yourself into the classroom, but leave certain parts out. And so they would bring up these objectives of what you're supposed to teach as like bilingualism or multicultural education. And you would have to sit there and talk about certain historical events or certain things, but you weren't able to bring up certain topics. And if you were to lose your license. If you brought up this, you were to lose your license. You would lose your job. You would lose your job. And it was just a reoccurring, like, there are such, especially in Texas, there are such hard, strict laws that you cannot move through. And like, I would find myself being like, I would want to teach it anyway. Why would I teach it if it's not the right way? Every teacher starts by saying, oh, well, I'm one teacher, I'm gonna make a difference. You can make a difference, but for me, I can't fight a battle my whole life and not see a light at the end of the tunnel for my whole life. And so I was just like, these things that are literally in the foundation of education are not being moved by little old me. So I was like, I'm gonna have to do you in.
It's like Christmas. When you go out on the playground, there's like a walk. Amazon wish list is the teachers. So I waited tables through college, and I kind of low-key missed it for a while. And Roadhouse had just opened here in Anna, like in December, so they were kind of fairly still new. And I remember telling her, she was like, I think I'm gonna apply there. And I was like, you know what? Waiting tables was the best, because if you need money, you just go in there. Who wants to go home, make your money? And so she started working there. And, college is expensive. Let's be real. And so I told her in the summer, I was like, I think I'm going to take a second job. I told my husband, he'd always been willing to help, but I told him, I said, I don't want tuition to become an extra burden.
Hi, welcome to our house. I'm Jennifer. I'll be taking care of you. Hi. And we went, like I said, we went on a field trip today.
And so people will be like, I don't know how you do it. And I was like, lots of caffeine. And my student teacher, I said, check back with me in January when I'm teaching and working. I did adjust my schedule down like a day, but I have my school family and I have my roadie family. And I think too, teaching can be stressful. And when I get to work, it's a whole different environment. So for me, it gets me out of the teaching space, and it actually is fun. So now, with the pandemic, that kind of threw everybody for a loop. I think that's when education kind of turned a bit, because you had kids especially that, were homeschooled, and it's quite different. And so that gap started kind of getting bigger, especially kids. There were kids that didn't go to daycare, and so they came to school and this was their first school experience.
And it was so sad to tell her that I was leaving education, because I was like, Mom, I love you. Like, I would love to follow in these footsteps, but there's just no way. And she looked at me, she was like, I was scared. I was scared when you told me you were going into education, because the gun violence had just happened in can't even remember which school it is now. Amazing. But she was like, I know I have to put my life on the line every single day when I walk in that classroom, and I cannot want my child in that at all for the rest of their life. And I was like, that's horrifying.
It was kind of a bit of a relief too, in all honesty, because, you know, sometimes, like I said, I come home and question my choices. And so I've gone home and looked at my husband and be like, I don't know what I would do. You know what I mean? Like, you've been in education for so long, it's like, well, what would I do instead when you've been in it so long? So for her to change while she's still in college and being able to take that path, I think is very positive for her. And I was very supportive of her, and yeah, a little relieved too, so.
Good afternoon. Thank you for joining NTTV News at Noon. I'm Isabella Davis.
And I'm Faith Webster. The potential threat of a government shutdown is once again looming over the United States.
And it's also nice because, like, education, it felt like I was just waiting to see it. And, like, I felt so small in such a big world. But, like, I've even told, like, my friends and family, and, like, I feel like I am the person to go and seek out, like, I have a place to go and just seek out the change and find the change in the world and be able to share it, because I have that outlet now. But there have been times where I was like, I could just get a teaching certificate. I could just online classes, teaching certificate. And then I think about walking in the school doors of that school and having to, like, literally go, I'm in charge of 30 kids a day. If someone walks in and threatens their life, it's me that has to go. And I couldn't do it. And I literally think about it every day, that I would rather probably serve hamburgers and steaks for the rest of my life and make this same or more money than put my life on the line for 30 kids. And that's kind of selfish, but also, like, you have to, like, it's an insane thought, but it's the world we live in now, so.
And then she was my other student teacher. So I stay quite busy. Just having a supportive family has been the most helpful for that. I have a supportive husband who, like, a lot of my glow stuff he bought, he will clear my wish list every summer. So I just having that support system helps me balance. I still love teaching every day. I love what I do. My family wanted me to become a lawyer because they made more money. And I said, why would I want to make more money and do something I hate instead of not making as much and doing something I love? It comes with its challenges, and there's some days that I've come home and questioned my choices, but that's any job, you know.
I remember going from coloring pages and, like, writing my feelings for homework to having to make a package with my own with a camera and a tripod that I carry on myself, and little. I was literally like, oh, I'm back in that classroom, just me, myself, and I, fighting for, you know, a point. And then I was like, it was one easy Google search. I was like, hey, what's going on? And I was like, oh, this is gonna be easy. But it was such a huge jump to the, like, responsibility load that you had, because also, like, you are in charge of the viewpoint. Like, yes, I was creating small minds for the next generation. Now I'm affecting the now generation and the future and how the past is gonna see me. Like, I'm doing it all. And I was like, this is such a crazy jump, but also, like, I would love for the world to see it through my eyes, because the world is a cool place.